office. Now, this office happens to be the manifesto implementation unit. Now, their mandate, the overall mandate of the manifesto implementation unit is to monitor the progress of implementation of the manifesto commitments and report to the presidency and other government entities accordingly. The unit also liaises with the ruling party, which is NRM, in the promotion of the party. It's currently headed by, of course, by the director, assisted by the deputy director and assistant director. But sorry, I am dropping things in your office. But with me this morning is Mr. Willis Bashasha, Director of Manifesto Implementation Unit in the office of the President. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for inviting us here. I now see why you have better skin than mine, but we shall get there also.
Good morning, David, and good morning, viewers. And once again, feel at home. You're most welcome.
You have seen the papers of recent.
Yes.
It has been headlines for a few days. 62% done.
Yeah.
In the NRM manifesto. Of course, there is the other 38% that is yet to be fulfilled. We are heading into activities in this week. They are kicking off this morning, and the activities that are going to run for the next 2 weeks. Of course, this is you're trying to give accountability to the people of Uganda, the people that voted you into power. You promised them to do A, B, C, D. You have now told them that you have been able to do A, B, and C.
Yeah.
There is a D remaining.
True.
First of all, let's take a larger look at the 62% that has been fulfilled. As a person that follows up on the ministries, tasks them to report to you on the manifesto on how far they have gotten. Are you impressed? Are you happy with what they have delivered?
Yeah, I must say that we are impressed. At the same time, there is something to show.
Yes.
Because the manifesto is a social contract between the ruling government and the people of Uganda. That's why Ugandans, when they look through the various manifestos, put trust in the one that was being offered by NRM, and they ended up voting them into power. So within this contract, there are various commitments that were made, and some of them are big, what we call the flagship projects, which I think have been largely covered. And our assessment basically looks at the visibles, because that is what actually is detailed in this manifesto. So when we look at so many things that have been done, some have been concluded, some are still going on, but for us we also look at the process evaluation, because if you have a commitment like revive of national airlines, you don't just you look at so many things: the formation of the management, the arrival of the aircraft, things like that. So we are happy that at 62 it's a great achievement.
When you say 62% is a great achievement, the Prime Minister, of course, launched this last week. But this 62%, is it a true reflection of what is actually on the ground? Because, you know, there is what is written on paper, and there is what is actually on ground.
Yeah, for us, our assessments is based on what we have been able to deliver. Like I said, this is about the visibles that were promised within the manifesto, and this is where we base our assessment. So our initial assessment in that respect gives us that percentage.
What is the yardstick when it comes to measuring these achievements?
Like I said, it's a process evaluation. We look at, for example, some interventions that have been made, some projects which have been concluded. So we go giving average points. So at the end of the day, we see like water sector, how much has we been able to achieve, and then we do an average of the total performance of the manifesto.
When you were going into the elections, the last elections, the biggest problems that we have had in this country have, of course, have been highlighted and are known countrywide. We have the health sector that has suffered really for quite some time now. When we look at the 62%, there seems to be a small percentage of the health sector that has been attended to, and that is Mulago Hospital.
I think you are just looking at you are looking at this issue from a narrow point of view. Yes, we have delivered Mulago, the neonatal, which was a pledge and a commitment. Mulago, the specialized hospital, is about to be delivered. But there are also various investments that have been made in the health sector countrywide. We pledged health center 3s per sub-county, and this has been done out of 1,600 or so sub-counties. I think we now remaining with like 300, and money has also been secured to make sure that by 2020, most of these health centers, that infrastructure is realized. Yes, it is true, we have not done well, for example, on the aspect of the general hospital per district, and health center force per constituency, but on average, you'll find that the score in that area is not as bad as you think. And then there are other sectors which could have done much better. So when you get an average, you come to what we have.
You still have 2 years to make sure that these sectors that haven't done well are doing better. The other one is, of course, jobs. Jobs has been an outcry in this country.
True.
Unemployment, youth unemployment, the percentages have been thrown around in the papers, in the press, every single day, every single morning. What has been done apart from, the president has been commissioning factories almost every single day. But the numbers when it comes to jobs don't seem to be getting any better.
Yeah, you see, when you are looking at jobs, you have to look at it from a broader perspective. We have youth who are not educated, but who need to work. You have also our other young people who could have graduated, but they can't be absorbed by the job market. So that you have to look at it from that broad perspective. So what the country is doing first is to create a facilitative environment, to attract investment, and also invest in sectors that can now make our economy be competitive. When you see a lot of money going into infrastructure, going into electricity, and these other big drivers, what we would call the drivers of the economy. That is the reason. Now, secondly, there has been other mainstream programs that the government has initiated. We have the Youth Livelihood Program, where there is no need for Korato, for people to access some money to support them and be able to earn something, but also be employable at their level. You have seen also where the president has come in directly to intervene under his presidential initiative on skilling, supporting some youth who are already doing some work, but probably they don't have enough capital to support themselves, or in the trades they are in, they may need some extra support depending on the tools of trade that they use. If you have seen his support in the areas of carpentry by what we call the common user facilities, those who are in the fabrication, by giving them these machines that each of them can help them, rather than by the time this individual youth makes an investment in that area, it will be very, very difficult. So all these are interventions intended to address that issue. That means that the government is very mindful of the existence of this problem. Then I think now the government is also trying to come up with a comprehensive local content policy. There are other policies which have been designed also to address this. When you look at the revision of the PPD Act to address the reserve schemes, when you come to oil and gas sector, there has been local content also introduced to address that. So government is not sleeping, and it is mindful of that challenge. Yeah.
Okay. In case you're just joining us this morning, we are at the President's office, and today we have Mr. Willis Pashasha, who is the Director, Manifesto Implementation Unit in the Office of the President. Of course, we are looking at that headline that we had last week. 62% of NRM's manifesto for this term has been complete. But of course, this morning we had representatives from the NFA. We had the director from Natural Forest Management in the NFA. We had some CSOs, and every single morning when you host people in ministry, from ministries, from civil society organizations, from every single area, they seem to point at the fact that there's there's some political interference in most of the implementation that it should be done. And let's look, for example, at the minimum wage. It's one that could probably help on the employers in this country. It has been sort of interfered by, by the political practitioners in the country.
How?
Has politics somehow contributed to the 38% of what you haven't achieved so far?
First of all, the manifesto is a 5-year contract. We couldn't have achieved everything within 3 years.
Yes.
So we still have 2 years to go. And all I want to assure Ugandans is that we are on course despite the challenges that there may be. And coming back to your issue of politicization, yes, when you are addressing politicization issues, you don't only look at the politicians, but also the citizens. We have been having this challenge of continued expansion of administrative units, which changes targets and changes planning. It affects planning and also affects targets. There are citizens demanding that we want this area to be converted into this because we want services near us. Now, that's the pressure sometimes that is coming from the citizens. Of course, and even at political level, the members of parliament, you might find that somebody is saying to me, I needed a district here. So, yes, politics, politicization sometimes tend to interfere, but I think the bigger picture of government's focus on development is still valid, and I think where we need to push is to really depoliticize development programs. You have even seen where government brings in an initiative and sometimes politics overshadow, not necessarily even from the ruling government, but also from the other players in the opposition. So I agree with you that sometimes politics tend to hamper the implementation direction.
An ordinary Ugandan will say that your first half, well, relatively 70%, because you only have 2 years left now, and of course you'll be hoping that you get another term in office to implement more of what you want. But a Ugandan will say you have concentrated a lot more on roads, electricity, factories being opened every single day, and less more on the things that affect directly the ordinary Ugandan. Things like jobs, like we have mentioned before, the health sector. Can you give a Ugandan a promise that in the second half of your tenure, you're going to concentrate more on the things that affect us, me, the ordinary Ugandan who simply wants to go and go to the hospital and get medication?
Yeah, for every country, even you, at your individual level, you must have things that form the strategic direction. And these are the drivers, these are the strategic drivers of the economy. So first of all, if you want to improve the quality and the rest of the things, and I think that's why the president has been very emphatic of saying, you see, let's not handle each and everything at a go. Let's prioritize. We have this challenge, let's sort it. We have this challenge, let's sort it. And then this will translate into all these other things. So we need to have the economy expanded. We need to make it competitive. And all these, if we are, and one way you have to address the drivers of that. And then after that, then the linkages will come up, will translate into what may be better pay, increase the tax base where we can be able to mobilize the revenue and finance ourselves as a country, and many other social related aspects. But that is not to forget what you are saying at the same time.
The next 2 weeks,
yes.
NRM Manifesto Week activities. What should we expect? What is this all about? Because, okay, you have given us the details.
Yes.
We know you have completed 62%.
Yeah.
You have 38% left. Why are you having 2 weeks of telling us what exactly? Why don't you go back to the drawing board, look at the 38%, and go on with the implementation? 2 weeks of doing what now? What activities?
David, this Manifesto Week, first of all, it's a celebration of sorts, but presented in a different way.
Okay.
In 12th May 2016, that's when the president was sworn in, and after every year we celebrate that in this way. So 2017, a cabinet paper was developed to make this celebration turned into this week, of which is all about accountability. So as we celebrate, for us, it's a responsibility of government to inform the citizens that this is where we have come from, that is how far, and this is where we are. So the whole week will be about different political leaders of the different sectors coming and explaining to Ugandans exactly where we are. So in that respect, all these details, some of the details we are raising, and I believe you are part of the team that will be covering. Yes. We shall have, after every presentation, a Q&A session. And these details could come up to enrich further these information gaps, so that Ugandans don't live in balance as far as this is concerned.
Well, the fact that you are in the implementation unit and you are, your mandate is to task these people. Hopefully this week, when they start giving you percentages of what they have achieved and what they have not achieved, you can give us a very good report of what we should expect in the next coming years, that is the 2 years. Yes. So at the end of these activities, the 2-week activities, what should a Ugandan expect from you?
First and foremost, the Uganda should be able to appreciate where we are.
Yes.
That's the most important thing. Then the second one should be able to appreciate where we are going. Okay. And most likely what are the plans ahead as we plan for the remaining 38%.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Willis Bashasha, the head of the Director, Manifesto Implementation Unit, Office of the President. And thank you very much for inviting us this morning. And of course, we'll be covering each day of the activities, and hopefully we'll get more time to share with you after these 2 weeks. Morning at NTV continues. Because of time, we can't go any further than this, but of course we have Mr. Willis here. We'll have an exclusive interview which we'll share with you on NTV News. David Rukasi for Morning at NTV. Good morning.